Okay, so as of the last day or so, the game's become somewhat disoriented, or maybe I have, and trying to recuperate from that in a number of different ways. One of which is, oh look, we got more trains coming up because it's springtime. Everybody set their stuff out. Now, I saw a screw up where I know that Blue had bought the Trinidad bind that had been where they put their prospector, but I had them on the Canyon City one accidentally. I don't know what's going on there. But anyway, I paid the difference and set them up on Trinidad because, oh no, maybe not. They were going to Raton. No, I'll give them that difference back. But they're going for Trinidad now. Maybe that showed up or something. I don't know. Alright, so I get some money back. And I don't know. It's just so hard to walk away from this game and keep playing it because you got to kind of have all your balls in the air, and taking a day off was bad. So I owe, the bank owes them $60 back again that they just paid. Alright, all kinds of confusion there. Anyway, people have played. Let's see where they went. First player, Green, short as hell on cash. They just threw something in there. They're hoping to make enough off the Denver to Leadenville to get to Aspen, but they got cut off. Red ended up buying, or set up to buy that Aspen track. Why? Why do they want this? They don't have mines there. They don't have mines anywhere. They're also picking up the somewhat risky Denver to Leadville one that has a couple little depletions left. They should break even on it. It's possible that Green could jump in and take it from them. If it happens, what does it mean? Well, it means that Red just about breaks even on it. But Green's low on money, and we're cutting their money off here. We might be really kind of knocking them out of the game by these plays. An alternative, of course, might be, okay, we'll cut a deal, and I'll give you some cash for your Aspen Silver. But right now, Silver's not worth a lot. So, maybe we'll just let them cook there. Okay, let's look at others. Player 2 is the white player. Doesn't look like they're building any track. They're recuperating from paying the big money for the El Paso to Albuquerque run. And they're set up for another big run, the El Paso to Santa Fe. Big passenger runs that they're going to just, convert. This is really what Red's doing as well. They've got their passenger runs set up. That's where they're trying to make their money, and they're trying to scoot over to Grand Junction. Problem? Purple's going to get probably the better track coming out of Grand Junction. Whichever one they want, they can take. They could take both, but they don't want to take both. All right. 3 is Red. We already kind of talked about them. 4 is Purple. Yeah, we talked a little bit about Purple. They go to Grand Junction. They're also heading down. Why down? Get another market at Santa Fe. Maybe they could stretch the line out to El Paso, but I've found the game doesn't have enough little square cubes for one company to connect up Salt Lake City to Pueblo and down to El Paso. They might be able to make it to Santa Fe. I don't know what cards are out there, though, on the passenger routes. I don't think there's a Salt Lake City to Santa Fe one, but I think there's a Salt Lake City to El Paso one. Kind of painful. They're leaving their options open, though, and moving down into some territory that maybe other people aren't really playing in with the hopes of getting something. And they tossed something up on the board as well. Their other option was really this Rangley coal mine. And it's attractive, except Salt Lake City's coal, for mysterious reasons, is in the basement anyway. Nobody's been delivering coal there. It should go up. But until it does, I'm not going to really hook that up. And I'm not going to buy this mine. It's just too much of an investment when I already have one that I'm setting up over here. I can do other things, maybe find something more interesting. On to the 5th player, Yellow, hooking up Pinos Altos. This is a hard choice. There's a lot of cash sitting on here with that $400 copper. It's not affected by the IDS, but if you dump a lot of copper on it, you're dropping everyone's copper value. Now, doing that, setting this track up, is a real threat to Purple. But Purple dumped the silver. Yellow wants to make sure they don't do something similar with the copper. So basically, both sides are kind of in this, we want to make our money. If they can come to some sort of agreement, maybe they won't. But here's the problem. By having the higher turn order card, yellow holds the trump. So if purple doesn't sell, yellow could shaft him anyway. So this is almost forcing that issue. And what else does he do? He's spreading up here, and I'm not sure why I went this way. It's a hard call. There's nothing really for him right up here. I know he's heading towards Pueblo, wants to make that big route set up, but right now it's just not, it's not really convincing me how valuable it is in terms of the properties that he's got. Whereas he could be developing up here, which would get him closer to Salt Lake City, and that might be a more interesting run. But I'm making mistakes left and right here, so it's not really a big deal. And then the sixth player is blue. Blue. Yeah, we did all those corrections for blue. Well, blue's trying to extend to Leadville. They have some silver in Leadville. They want to get it out of there. Now, maybe their best move would be to sell the mines and the silver on them. They're not going to produce anymore. One could probably make a judgment of how much those are worth straight up. And it might be close to the 160 per silver on there. Of course, somebody else has to deliver them then. See, the thing is, eventually they're going to be worth 400 if someone was willing to wait and deliver them at the optimal time. And by the way, this can be done because they're in the same location, and we're playing with that transshipment rule just to reduce some of the clutter. It also makes it easier to move the materials around. But unless somebody's willing to take a reasonable percentage on that, in general, it's probably better to try to build your own track there. And more stuff might show up in Leadville. More stuff of interest might show up in places. Blue doesn't have a lot they want us to do. The only other thing they're doing is picking up that other coal mine, the Trinidad one, and keep running their coal empire. And, you know, maybe they can get, they want to branch out from coal. So they want to be down here where there's a little bit of wood and some gold, and up here where there's the gold and silver and even a little bit of copper. And they want to be playing in both those areas, not just stuck in the coal mines. All right, I'll take care of the effects of all this. So the first players, first green drew a Leadville mine, which they actually bought and ran and delivered 2 silver for, giving them, 320 bucks. That actually broke them even, in the sense that their Denver to Leadville was going to give them enough money to make the Aspen track build next turn. Well, they're ahead now on that because of this draw. And then the other one, White, who's also low on cash, drew a Leadville gold mine, which he could not buy. There's a temptation for him. If he had the cash, he would have wanted to buy it, because he's the only person holding gold. So if he could hold off on allowing other people to deliver gold, he can continue to push that price up and then maybe dump it all at once. The Leadville one, he could have sold to another player with the gold on it, whatever he produced, for a fraction of its value. Essentially, probably, that usually goes at about half value of the gold itself. Which is what we were looking at with the silver. Well, at 160 bucks at pop, it's going to go up to 400, so it would be worth more at half value, but you got to wait. So that's why the Leadville silver was not worth necessarily 80 bucks, because it's low on the track. It's only worth that to someone who wanted to sell it immediately. So it all becomes supply and demand. How much cash do you have? How bad do you need it? And then finally, red spent a fortune this turn. They bought that Denver to Leadville run. Now green can take that away from them, and green actually has 500 bucks. They might do that next turn. They might make a challenge right away next turn. They're a few pips closer, and that would be kind of a blow to red, no question. There's 2 depletions on it, however, so it's not terribly valuable. And if red gets 2 runs out of it, they at least break even, although there's an opportunity cost to using your prospector that way. All right, to the other half. Let's take a look at the purple player, and they've got some cleanup to do. On their rolls, they spent a lot of money developing their mines. They picked up South Fork. They chose not to continue on that route. You don't have to build the things that you survey or prospect. You can have second thoughts, and in this case, it seemed like a waste. to buy that at this point, especially with the South Fork card, which is oh, I don't remember where. It's down here. It looks like that's going to be their southern route if they take that. So they'd rather just develop the one path that's a little cheaper. They got 20 bucks. I didn't count. Forget, passenger runs are so easy to forget. But what they did was they depleted the Eureka silver mine and the Bingham copper mine. Now the Bingham mine forced them into, hey, let's get that 400 buck a load copper running. And they sold all that, and that's going to force the other player who has copper down here to drop his delivery off as well. You know, the copper market's going to be crushed. It may never make it up for the rest of the game. Basically, one big load tends to do that. It's not like the gold market. The gold market is not able to recover. But the copper market might, because, well, it kind of requires sales to prevent it from trending upward, but that's a long way up. That it's gonna fall a decent amount. It's gonna fall 4 spaces, which isn't terrible. But if it's gonna fall 4 spaces, you might as well sell what you got because it's already guaranteed to. Okay, but the other one is the silver from Eureka. They used the transshipment rule. They had enough trainage, the extra 15, to move it to Heber City. So now they can collect their silver. It makes it easier to ship it later. That's an iffy rule. I don't know whether or not it helps the game, but I tend to play with it sometimes and not with at other times, just because I do have mixed feelings about it. Having things on separate mines does make it a little more difficult. The advantage here, small table space, it makes it easier to clear the table and keep it on this smaller space. So there was kind of a additional impetus towards playing with that in this one. All right, onward. And on the tail end, finishing things up, the yellow player. Don't know what he did. Bought that track. Grabbed, I think, the McGaffey lumber, right? Which is out here. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But he's developing outward from there to gain more. He had to sell his copper. He depleted the Pinos Altos mine. Someday he'll haul that last copper out of there, but not for a while because the price is going to be so depressed. He may want to cross-ship it somewhere. But that was his big move. He didn't want to move coal or anything else. It was kind of a pain for him to have that depleted, but at least he gets to sell it at full value. And on blue, Blue continued with his coal mine strategy. Now, coal is funny in this game because in certain areas of the board, and this is one of them, you can get as much coal as you like pretty much. But here's the problem. You can't win the game running coal alone. You need something else. You need passengers or you need the precious metals. I've seen both of those others able to win alone. I have not seen coal able to win alone, but coal can give you this constant steady income. And what we had, 8 coal hauled to Denver, only 80 bucks, but that's okay. And with all that coal I'm hauling, well, I need a lot more train. And other people are kind of lagging in the equipment setup. We can see, just a couple of light trains for most of these companies. Nobody is too interested in that big 42. There's only one bigger train, if I'm correct. And this thing's just huge, a 72. Usually only the coal player is even vaguely interested, or coal players are very vaguely interested in that. You have to be hauling a lot of coal regularly for that to make a lot of sense. It does help, though, to have that lying around if you collect up a big precious metal load, because sometimes you need so much train to haul it, and that way you can still maybe haul your coal at the same time or something. I don't know. Anyway, we're on to the price changes, and then I guess I'm going to load up again. The videos are taking longer because people's actions are actually more complicated at this point. They have more choices. I really ought to cut down and try to reduce them. And here we have a new route, Denver to Aspen. Well, that's obviously Reds. They're going to need a snowblower for it to make it run all the time, but nobody's going to be able to challenge them on that easily. And yes, all that copper sold dropped the price down to 200, but it can make its way back up fairly easy. Copper is probably the best single commodity to have in the game. It's also the rarest thing to find. Gold's pretty hard too, but gold is very, very unvaluable. Copper wasn't in the original game, and there's very little copper on the northern part of the map. Most of it's concentrated here. There are a few cards in the Salt Lake City Center, etc. Lumber's still untouched, and the prices are kicking up. And in coal, even in Denver where it was sold, the IDS is coming into play enough that the price isn't really getting depressed. Now the blue player is going to want to dump his next load in Pueblo to see if he can get that Denver coal up. But basically, that's what's great about having two markets until you get so much trainage and coal mineage that you can just start, hauling every turn. And then you have to start making the decision, hey, do I want to go on that two-turn pulse anyway? Dump a lot in Pueblo, dump a lot in Denver, dump a lot in Pueblo, dump a lot in Denver, every other turn to maximize income? Or can I just depress the market, make a little bit more money maybe because of quantity, and drive everyone else out of coal because I'm just ruining the market so badly? Always interesting concepts. Anyway, up this one goes.